I'm here at the Cascade Lee Vintage at the Pickwick. I forget the formal name of the show, and I'm speaking to a young lady. And what is your name, please?
My name is Mary Kincaid.
Mary Kincaid.
Yes.
Is your father the famous artist that?
No.
Okay.
Not even close.
So what do you think of his art?
I'm really not too familiar with it.
Boy, she's the diplomat. She knows perfectly well. And so I see that you have a business which promotes green clothing. Is that right? And that every time someone makes a purchase, that you plant 10 trees. And a purchase, from what I understand, is normally around $200. Is that about the average order?
To $250.
Now let's suppose some smart ass said, I want to buy something for $15 or so. Would you still plant the 10?
I would, but I really don't have anything that's.
So what would be the cheapest thing that someone that would constitute an order?
I think my lowest price item here at the show today.
No. I mean on your
Oh,
website.
on my website?
Yeah.
I think my lowest price item on my website is probably around maybe $50.
And so let's suppose they were to buy it at $50, you would still plant the 10 trees. Would you have made any money on that, or would you have lost money if you did that?
It just depends on the piece, but it's just a commitment that I've made that I want to plant 10 trees with every order.
How many trees in rough numbers do you think you've planted so far?
My website is relatively new, so certainly not that many,
But if you were to give me a number, how many would you say? Have you planted at least 10 so far?
Oh, yes.
Have you planted 20?
Yes.
Tell me when I stopped. Have you planted 100?
I partner with a company called Trees for the Future. It's
Uh-huh.
an organization called Trees for the Future. And
Or is this confidential? Am I asking you information that I shouldn't be asking? You have no idea? It's 1,000, 10,000?
I'm going to guess a few hundred.
Okay, so maybe around 200 trees.
Let's say 200, yeah.
Well, good. And so how long have you been at this?
My website launched, it was actually live last August, I believe is when
Okay, so a year.
So it's relatively,
okay.
It's
And
about a year, but
how
it's
long
been-
have you been in the vintage fashion business
I've
as a
been in
whole?
the fashion business for about 10 years now.
Ah, and what were you doing
I was
before?
selling on eBay initially,
Uh-huh.
and then I started selling consignment at a boutique here in Beverly Hills.
But are you free to say the name?
It's no longer in business, but it was called a Little Vintage. in
A
Beverly
Little
Hills.
Vintage. And what street were they on?
They were on Civic Center Drive in Beverly Hills.
Ah, Civic Center Drive. Sounds like a good location.
Yes.
So where are you from?
I'm originally from Pennsylvania.
From Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I spent
In
most
what city?
of my adult. I grew up near the Poconos, a town called Hazelton,
Hazelton.
and.
See, I'm from Youngstown, which is pretty close to Pennsylvania.
Well, I spent most of my adult life in Akron, Ohio.
I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sure that was a tough life. So you went from Akron, Ohio, to Beverly Hills.
Well,
that was
in Hollywood. Yeah.
Hollywood.
I live in Hollywood.
I was raised.
I moved here about 3 years
I'm a
ago.
graduate of Hollywood High School.
There you go.
What street do you live on in Hollywood?
I live on. Do I need to say? I don't want to say what street I live on.
It's they're long streets. Okay. Well, great. So you went from Akron, Ohio. Now, Akron, Ohio, are they famous for the Zeppelins or the blimps or
Goodyear blimp,
the Goodyear blimp? Have you ever gone by wherever they make the Goodyear blimps?
I don't think so. I've seen it. It used to fly over my house, but.
So the Goodyear blimp used to fly. Was that an exciting thing?
It was a not uncommon occurrence. in
I see.
Akron.
I guess.
Something that happened quite frequently, actually. I guess we took it for granted.
And so, what school did you go to?
I graduated from Bloomsburg University, which is in Pennsylvania.
And when you were in school, were you a marketing major?
No, actually, I graduated and became a CPA for many years.
You were a CPA.
Yes.
And have you kept up your CPA ship?
No, I have not.
Because you don't want to ever do that again.
I don't ever
But you have the accounting
I
skills.
have the accounting skills, yes.
Well, so how did a CPA go from such a that kind of everything in order,
Right.
beautifully, perfectly laid out, to the wild and wacky world of vintage fashion, where you see nothing everything is chaos. So how did you go from that kind of mentality to the extreme wackiness and the creativity vintage clothing?
Well, I've always had an interest in fashion. I've always loved fashion. for
And
myself.
how did this interest express itself when you were younger?
When I was younger, I would have fashion shows with my Barbies.
You had your own fashion shows with your Barbies.
Of course.
Now, how many Barbies participated in this fashion show?
There were quite a few.
Would you say
I
100
did
Barbies?
a lineup, just like a fashion show.
So
and
all
I
the-
wrote
all the-
descriptions of all the clothes.
All the Barbies, they all got lined up, and you had descriptions. Now, so when the fashion show went live, did the Barbies kind of walk down the little runway?
Yeah, I
And as
actually
they
had a
were
little runway for them.
and as they're walking down the road, and you would narrate what they were wearing. Now, were you in your 30s, or well, how old were you when you were doing that?
Maybe 8.
Oh, you were 8. Okay. Well, now I'm starting. Now, what did your mother think of that when you had your Barbie fashion shows?
My mom actually used to make Barbie clothes for me.
Oh, so your mother was a co-conspirator
She was.
in this. Now, since you do have that that accountant mentality, did you charge admission and did you sell tickets?
I did.
So it was a free fashion show.
Yes.
Do you have any regrets about that? About
No,
all the
not really.
tickets you gave away from free? So in your thinking this out, how big was your audience?
Oh, it was just my sister and my neighbor. That was about it. Not too
Okay.
many people.
Fantastic. Okay. Well.